My name is Casey, and this is going to be a approximately 1 hour long slow flow that involves strength and some softening. And we are going to go ahead and get started reclined. It is definitely a good idea to have at least one block or block-like object for this class. I'm also going to have a second one just because I like it for some of the different lunging that we'll do, but you can definitely get away with just having one block-like thing, and you're going to take it with you as you come all the way onto your back. And take a few moments to get set up and settled. As you arrive, you can have your legs extended. If you prefer to have your legs a different way, feel free to. We'll move from this extended place once we start moving. And just take a moment to feel the whole space of your back body that is resting onto the floor settle down. Giving yourself a few moments to arrive. And then we'll get started with a little bit of movement. And you can have your arms either kind of splayed out to the sides, or you might have your hands resting somewhere onto your body. And then you can take your right foot from an extended position and just start to draw it up and out to the side, like you're coming into a laying down tree pose or bringing your leg up into a 4 shape. And then from there, you can just extend your leg all the way back out again. And we're just going to do that 2 more times, keeping your leg on the ground the whole time, drawing your knee up and out to the side. Your foot stays near to your left leg and extending it all the way back out, just mobilizing into the hip a little bit, noticing how you're feeling this morning. 1 more time, drawing the knee up and out to the side, and then extending your leg out long. Okay, draw your knee up and out to the side. This time, start to draw your knee to point up towards the ceiling, plant your foot onto the floor, and then let your knee come a little bit across your body so you've got a slight internal rotation, keeping your hip mostly grounded, and then slowly extend your leg out from here. And we'll take that full rotation 2 more times. So your foot turns out to the side, you draw your knee up and out to the side, you lift your knee to plant your foot onto the floor, and then you let your knee come a little across your body, and then you slide the foot out all the way. 1 more time at your own pace. Take just a breath as you land to notice if there's any differences between your hips and how you're feeling. Maybe just a slight amount of heat, maybe some sensation of tingling or activation. And then we'll go into the other side, starting by just drawing the knee up and out to the side, and then extending your leg out long. And we'll do that 2 more times. Simple, steady movement to get us started. And seeing if you can move slow enough to feel what's going on. Once you've done 3, just up and out to the side, we'll take the full rotation, bring your knee up and out to the side, lift your knee to plant your foot onto the floor, let your knee come across your body, little internal rotation, and then extend your leg from there. And we'll do that 2 more times. 1 more time. Okay, noticing for a breath. And then bend your knees to plant your feet onto the floor, about hips width distance apart. I'm just going to take a moment to adjust my tailbone so that it's reaching a little bit further away from me. And then you can flex your right foot, cross your right ankle over your left knee. So you've got this figure 4 shape. You're welcome to leave your left foot on the ground, or you could lift it off the floor, draw the whole shape in towards you, and then maybe interlace your hands behind your thigh or on front of your shin. And you might find a little bit of rocking movement here. And you might be working on gently rolling your right hip underneath you. And this might accentuate the reaching away of your right knee from your body. And then you might take a breath to extend your left leg all the way up and stretch out through the back line of your leg. And then gently bend your knee, plant your foot back onto the floor, extend your arms out to the T. Start to bring this whole shape just as it is over to the left. Moving nice and steady and slow. And then either choosing to stay here or lifting yourself back up through center and maybe bringing the whole shape over to the right. And then the option is going to be to stay in one of these two sides or to keep moving between both sides. And I have a slight engagement of my core to support this oscillation from side to side. And we'll just take one more breath wherever you are. Return to center, uncross, and then flex your left toes, cross your ankle over your right knee. Again, maybe you stay with your foot on the floor, maybe you draw the whole shape in towards you and you work on rolling your left hip away from you, underneath you. And you might be finding some small movements here. So for our practice today, we're going to be using the block a lot for some biofeedback and to help us kind of find the middle center line. And there's a meditation that I will offer that you can listen to separately or in conjunction. Go ahead and release. Oh, actually take a moment and maybe extend your leg up towards the ceiling and stretch out through the back line of your right leg. And then slowly replace your foot onto the floor. We'll take the same twists from side to side. Start by going over to the right side. And then either choose to stay or lift yourself up and bring the whole shape over to the left side. And then either you're choosing to stay in one of those two sides or you're moving between the two. Little engagement of the core to support the movement. So we'll be working with the block a lot throughout practice. There'll be many different ways that I'll offer you use the block, and if you ever want to just skip it, you're welcome to skip it. Otherwise, it's kind of a fun and interesting way, in my opinion, to work on finding the middle. Okay, go ahead and return to center, uncross, and then draw your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a little squeeze. Replace your feet back onto the floor, and then we'll go into our first use of the block. So you can take your block and place it in between your thighs, and then find a squeezing in of the block. Notice the engagement of your legs as you squeeze into the block. I'm actually going to adjust it so it's a little bit more between my knees. You can place your arms alongside your body, continue squeezing into the block as you draw your navel in towards your spine, and then slowly start to push into your feet to roll your hips off the ground any amount. Reach your tailbone towards the backs of your knees as you come up, and then nice and slow, roll yourself all the way back down. We're going to do that 4 more times. Squeezing into the block, draw your belly button into your spine, and then slowly push yourself up to a bridge and roll yourself back down. 3 more times, moving at your own pace. Two more times. And one more time. Squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. And then rolling all the way down. Remove the block, set it somewhere off to the side. Take a moment again to draw your knees in towards your chest. Maybe find a little bit more of a rock. And then we're going to make our way to a 4-point kneeling position. So you can either rock and roll up your spine a couple of times, or you might roll over to your side and make your way to all fours. Bring the block with you as you come all the way up so that it's near the top of your mat. And then start to settle into your 4-point kneeling position. And maybe this looks like finding a little bit of intuitive movement. Maybe you're shifting some weight into your hands, moving into your hips, mobilizing your spine, moving into your head and your neck. Doesn't need to look like anything in particular, just getting things a little bit moving. And then we'll take a few rounds of a cat-cow together. And I'm going to bring my knees close for this one, but you're welcome to keep your knees wide. On an inhale, bring your belly down, lift your tailbone and your gaze. As you exhale, round in your spine, push the floor away. And we'll do just 3 more times. Inhale to lift. And exhale to curl. 2 more. Come back to neutral. Sit back towards your heels and take a block with you. I'm going to turn towards you. So you're more than welcome to have your hips just straight onto your heels, or you can take a block and sit onto the block between your heels. Okay. And then you can take your other block, take it between your hands, find a pressure in towards center, same as we did with squeezing the legs together. And then you might extend your arms all the way up alongside your ears. Reintegrate, find this pushing in towards center, squeezing your block. Draw your belly button in towards your spine so that your low ribs and your hip points come a little bit closer together. It's going to take a little bit of the arc out of your spine. And then keeping all this integration, squeezing the block in towards center, drawing your belly button in, you're going to slowly start to rotate to the right. And we'll take a breath in the twist, squeezing in. And then slowly come back through center. Find the pressure in towards the middle. And then slowly rotate to the left. And we'll take a breath in the twist. And then slowly come back in to center. You can replace this is Rosie. She's very excited. Okay, thank you, Rosie. Okay, go on. You can come back to an all 4-point kneeling position. And, okay, where are we going? We'll come into a wide-kneed child's pose. So you can widen your knees out to the sides, bring your toes to touch, and the block is going to land somewhere underneath your forehead. And you want it to come underneath the area of your eyebrows. And then as you're settling your head down onto the block and snuggling your rib cage in between your thighs, you might start to find a little bit of a rock from side to side. massaging the space of your eyebrows on your block. Okay. From here, you can extend your arms. Take a moment to lift up and place your block on its mid-height. Reach your arms out long and then tuck your toes under and lift your knees up to come into a downward facing dog. And from downward facing dog, the offering is going to be to place your forehead at the point of your hairline onto the block. So I need to kind of extend my stance to do this. I like to widen my hands a bit out to the side, and we're going for a shape that feels supportive. This is meant to be a restorative version of downward facing dog, and so it's not supposed to be super sensational. And just take a couple of breaths here. And then if your forehead is resting onto the block, a little bit of pressure down to lift yourself off of the block. Move your block forward on your mat to its lowest height, and then start to make your way forward to a plank position. Take a breath to fortify in plank. Reach out through the crown of your head, out through the base of your feet, and then softly lower your knees down up to the ground. Bring your forearms onto the ground and find this, again, palms outside of the block, squeezing in towards center. Walk your legs out behind you so that you're in a forearm plank position. We're going to take a breath in the forearm plank, and you really want to be reaching out long, crown of head through feet. And then super slowly, you're going to start to drape your hips onto the floor. You might leave your toes tucked, or you might untuck your toes, and then see if you can find a pulling forward of your chest, a widening across your collarbones. Shoulder blades are coming together a little bit behind you to reach your heart a little bit further forward. And then you can either stay here, or we'll go back 2 more times to the forearm plank. If you're coming for the forearm plank, start by bringing your chin a little bit in towards your chest, and then you're leading with your belly button. So you draw your belly button in and up, tuck your toes under, and then start to push away from the floor, coming back into your forearm plank. And you want to be reaching out super long from the crown of your head through the base of your feet, and from side to side, you're squeezing everything in. One more breath here. And then slowly lower your hips all the way down to the ground. Draw your chest forward and through. Rosie is very happy to be a part of this. Okay, and then we're going to go back 1 more time. If your toes aren't tucked under, go ahead and tuck them under. Start to bring your chin towards your chest. Draw your belly button in towards your spine. Lead with your belly button, and then push into the floor to come back up into your forearm plank. We're going to take an extra breath here. Squeezing muscle onto bone, drawing in from side to side, lengthening out from top to bottom. And then nice and slow, start to lower yourself all the way back down. Draw your chest forward and through, forward and through. Okay, and then from here, we're going to go back to a puppy pose. So you can lift up onto your knees, walk your knees in a little bit. Find the outer corners of or the inner corners between your thumb and pointer finger onto your block. And then start to reach your arms forward, keeping your hips above your heels. Maybe your forehead rests onto the floor. You might even rotate your palms so that you're pressing onto the block still. Maybe you bring the block to the back of your neck, getting a little more deeply into the triceps. Go ahead and re-extend your arms if you had them bent, and then lift yourself up. Get your block out of the way. We're going to set it off to the side just for a moment. Tuck your toes under and lift your knees up into a downward facing dog. Again, take a few moments to get settled into the shape. Okay, and then we're going to take a little flow here. So you can bring your toes together towards the back of the mat, lift onto the balls of your feet, bring your knees out to the sides, wide-kneed child's pose, hips reach back towards your heels. Keep your heels and your hips glued together as you come round your way forward to an upward facing dog type shape. Heels are drawing in towards your hips, little buoyancy in the arms, chest is reaching forward and up, and then hips can draw back towards your heels in a wide-kneed child's pose. We're going to do that 2 more times. Roll your way forward. Keep your heels suction towards your hips. Upward facing dog. And then draw your hips back towards your heels last time. Rolling forward. Heels draw in. And then drawing back. Make your way all the way back to a downward facing dog. And then step your left foot a little bit closer to your right. Sweep your right leg up towards the ceiling, any amount. You might take a moment to bend your knee, open your hip. Maybe you even tent onto your right fingertips and look up underneath your armpit. And then replace your hand onto the floor. Start to bring your knee out wide and take a big step forward outside of your right hand with your right foot. Lower your left knee down onto the ground. Take a block between your hands and then reach your arms forward and up as you come into a low lunge. And then here you're working on magnetizing your feet together. So you're drawing together from forward to back and pushing your block in towards center. On your next exhale, you might start to bring the block behind your head like we did in puppy pose. And then inhale, extends your arms out long. And we'll do that 2 more times. Bending elbows, pointing your elbows up to the ceiling if you're bending, and then extending. 1 more time, bending and extending. And then bring one or both of your blocks down to the inside edge of your right foot. Tuck your back toes under, lift your back knee up, and fold forward. You might flex the front toes, getting a little bit more into the back line of the front leg. And I'm not working on folding super deeply in at the moment. I'm just stretching out more through the back line of the leg. So I've got an extended spine. Crown of my head is reaching forward. On this last breath, if you have an extended spine, you might take a moment to fold in. And then again, extend your spine, bend into your front knee, walk your hands a little bit forward. We're going to step the left foot to the outside of the left hand and then come all the way down in a low squat. Maybe your arms are inside of your knees, little pressure outwards, lifting your chest, lifting your head. Hips are heavy towards the floor. And then on an inhale, rise all the way up to standing. Toe heel your feet a little bit underneath you. Maybe your palms come to press and you look up past your thumbs. On your exhale, start to hinge from your hips, let your arms go wide, fold forward over bent or straight legs. Inhale to halfway lift, reach the crown of your head forward. Exhale, bend into your knees, take a big step back with the right foot. Inhale brings your hips down any amount, turn your gaze forward and up. And exhale, step back to your downward facing dog. I'm going to take my blocks off of the mat for 3 breaths in downward facing dog. And as you settle into your shape, you want to be pressing down through the inner seam of your palms, gripping with your fingertips, grounding through your knuckles to take a bit of the weight out of your wrists. Your sitting bones and sacrum are reaching up towards the ceiling. And we'll take 1 more breath here. And step your right foot a little closer to your left. Sweep your left leg up towards the ceiling. You might keep your leg extended. You might bend it and open your hip to the side. Maybe even tent onto your fingertips and look up underneath your armpit. And then replace your hand onto the floor. Even out your hips. Let your knee come out wide as you step your left foot all the way forward on your mat. Lower your right knee down onto the floor. Maybe you untuck your toes. Again, take the block between your hands and then reach forward and up as you arrive in your lunge. You're pulling your 2 feet together, reaching down through your tailbone and pushing your hands together on the block. On an exhale, bring your hands down behind your head, squeezing the block in towards center, lifting your elbows up. On your inhale, extend your arms. 2 more times. One more time. Bring your hands down inside of your front foot, either on the floor or blocks. Tuck your back toes under. Lift your back knee up and then fold forward over to your 2 legs. And maybe you flex into your front foot. We'll take 2 more breaths here. Bend into your front knee, draw yourself forward, step to the outside of your right hand, sit your hips down into Malasana, arms reach to the outside edges of your knees or inside edges, out to the outside edges of your mat. Crown of your head is lifting, hips are heavy. And then bring your palms together, push into your feet to lift yourself up, extend your arms up as you come to standing, maybe look past your thumbs. And then exhale, let your arms travel out wide, hinge from your hips and fold forward over your legs. Inhale to halfway lift, reach the crown of your head forward. And exhale to fold in. Inhale to halfway lift, bend into your knees, send your left foot back on your mat, long lunge. Inhale, hips come down any amount, gaze turns forward and up. Exhale, place your hands onto the floor, step both of your feet back into a downward facing dog. I'm going to take a moment to lower my knees just to take my socks off, but you're going to be taking 3 breaths in the downward facing dog. Okay. Bring your toes to touch towards the back of your mat. Lift onto the balls of your feet. Knees come down wide. Draw your hips back towards your heels. And then round your way forward. Keep your heels glued in towards your hips. Unravel into an up dog. And then draw your hips back towards your heels. Active child's pose 1 more time. We're going to land all the way to the ground. Rolling forward, unraveling. And then slowly bending your elbows to land your pelvis onto the ground. Extend your left leg out long. Toes can be tucked or untucked to start. And then you're going to take your right foot to the inside edge of your left leg, like you're coming into a tree pose. You want to be pushing your foot against your leg and your leg against your foot. Hands can come by your low ribs. We'll take a little cobra here. Push into your hands to roll your hips. Roll your chest up. You want to be rolling your right hip down and away from you. And then lower yourself all the way back down. Tuck your back toes under. Keep finding this pressure inwards. We're going to push up to a plank position with the tree leg. Again, lead with your belly button. Draw your belly button up. Push into the floor. Come straight up. And then lift your right leg up and back to a 3-legged downward facing dog. Oh. Draw your right knee in towards your nose. You can either step your foot to the inside or outside edge of your front foot, and then slowly lower your left knee all the way down to the ground. Okay. From here, your left hand can stay grounded. Right hand can come onto your thigh. Start to turn your chest to the right. And you might stay here. You might reach your arm all the way back behind you. Maybe you reach your hips back, kick your heel in towards your hip, and catch your foot in your hand. And then keeping this connection between your heel and your hip, you might start to drape your hips any amount towards the floor. We're going to stay here for 3 breaths. Maybe for this last breath, you kick your foot into your hand, open up your chest towards the ceiling, and then slow motion, release. Hands come down to frame your front foot, tuck your back toes under, and step your way back to a downward facing dog. Same thing, other side. Toes come to touch towards the back of your mat, lift onto the balls of your feet, soften your knees onto the ground, hips come back towards your heels, one rinsing vinyasa before we go in to the other side. Round your way forward, heels draw in towards your hips, unravel, up dog with hips towards heels. Draw your hips back in space. Active child's pose. One more time, around your way forward, unfurl. This time bend your elbows enough to land yourself all the way onto the ground. Extend your right leg out long. Left foot comes onto your right thigh. Pressure in towards the center. And then maybe you push into your hands to roll your chest up any amount. Rolling your left hip underneath you. Roll yourself all the way down. Tuck your right toes under. Push in towards center. Draw your belly button in towards your spine. And then push straight up. Lift your hips up and back. Reach your left foot up to the sky. And then draw your left knee in towards your nose and step your foot forward outside or inside edge of your mat. Okay. Right hand can stay grounded. Left hand can come onto your left thigh. Start to turn your chest to the left. Either stay here or extend your arm all the way back behind you. Maybe you kick your heel in towards your hip and you catch. If you catch, you draw your heel in towards your hip. And then keeping the whole package together, start to drape your hips towards the floor. 3 breaths here. Okay, maybe for this last breath, you kick your foot back into your hand and you open your chest. And then slowly release. Make sure your blocks are within reaching distance. Frame out your front foot, tuck your back toes under. Make your way back to a downward facing dog. Take a block, bring it in between your upper thighs and the downward facing dog. Couple of things here. Lift onto the balls of your feet. Start to roll yourself forward to a plank position, squeezing in. Same things as we did with the forearm plank. Squeezing into center. And then leading with your hips, little micro bend in your knees. Come up and back to a downward facing dog. 2 more times. Rolling forward, squeezing in towards center. Elongating out, crown of head through your feet. And then little micro bend, hips reach out up and back. Last one. Lifting onto the balls of your feet, rolling your way forward, pushing into center. And then little bend into your knees, lift your hips up and back, down dog. Okay. You can keep the block in between your legs or skip this. You start to walk your hands back towards your feet, about halfway or so down your mat. And then you're going to lean your weight forward into your hands, round into your spine, and see if you can take a little hop forward with your feet. We'll just do that 2 more times, getting to the top of the mat. Walk your hands a little bit further forward. Crown of your head is pointing towards the floor, leaning your weight forward, arcing into your spine, and then little float forward. Last one. Hands reach to the ground, squeezing the block in towards center. Crown of the head points down, rounding in. Weight comes forward into your hands. Little step forward. And then gently release the block and fold forward. 2 breaths in the forward fold. Maybe you find a little sway from side to side. Okay. And then slowly roll yourself all the way up to standing. Let your arms come out wide and up as you arrive. Maybe your palms press and you look up past your thumbs. And then let your hands come down through heart center. Bring your weight over onto your right foot. Left foot can start to draw up your leg. Turn your toes out to the side as you draw your leg up. And it might stop anywhere you'd like on your leg. Or you might draw your foot up as high as you can get it and then reach down and support yourself in getting your foot up a little bit higher. And then same actions we've been working on this whole practice. So you're pushing in towards center. Foot is pressing into your leg is pressing into your foot, and you're working on rotating your left hip a little bit underneath you. Okay. And then you're lengthening out top to bottom, north to south, getting taller and longer. Maybe you take a breath where you extend your arms all the way up alongside your ears. And then you might start to reach your hands down, around, and behind you. Maybe you interlace your hands and draw your shoulder blades together behind you, lifting your chest forward and up. Slowly start to remove your foot from your inner leg, turning your knee forward, and then tip your way forward as you extend your left leg long behind you. Warrior 3 with a bind. Again, find this lengthening out, toes through the crown of your head, drawing your shoulder blades together, and then super slow motion, start to drape your left toes behind you. Long stance, turn your back foot in and down. Maybe keep the bind with your arms. You've got warrior 2 legs, keeping the bind. And then gently release, let your arms float up and out to a T, warrior 2. You might turn your gaze out over your front hand, keeping a nice deep bend in your front knee, pressing out through the back seam of your back foot. One more breath here. And then bend your front arm, extend your left arm all the way up and alongside your ear. You might be working on gently rotating your right ribs all the way up towards the sky. One more breath here. Turn your gaze to the floor. Start to bring your left hand down to the inside edge of your right foot. Lift onto the ball of your left foot. And then start to turn your chest to the side. Okay. You can either stay here, or you might point yourself back towards the floor, extend your left arm a little out ahead of you, and then turn all 10 toes to the right so you're in a supported side plank variation. Maybe you reach your arm all the way up to the sky. And then you might stay here. You might take a couple of rainbows, bringing your left hip down to the floor, extending your arm down your mat, and then pushing back up, reaching up to the sky, supported side plank. 2 more times if you're coming with. Reverse Skandasana, reaching back, and then pushing into your foot, reaching up. Maybe you reach all the way up and overhead. 1 more time. And then let that circle continue to bring your right hand all the way down to the floor. Even out your toes so they're pointing towards the front of your mat. Pull yourself forward with your right foot so that your left foot floats off the ground. Draw your knee in towards your nose, squeeze in, and then land your left foot next to your right. Inhale, halfway lift, crown of your head reaches forward. Exhale, hinge from your hips and fold in. Root down to rise all the way up to standing. Arms sweep out, widen up. Maybe you look past your thumbs. Exhale brings your hands through heart center. Weight comes over onto your left foot. Turn your right toes out to the side. Draw your right foot any amount up your leg. Maybe you stop partway up, or maybe you reach down and place your foot somewhere up higher on your leg. find your middle, pressing in from the sides, extending up and down, crown of head through your rooting foot. Maybe this next inhale brings your arms all the way up alongside your ears. And maybe the exhale brings your arms down, around, and behind you. Opposite interlace with your hands. Shoulders draw together. Arms reach down, chest lifts. And then maybe your knee starts to reach forward as your foot comes off your leg. Tip your way forward into a warrior three, this T shape, extending your right leg long behind you. Shoulders are reaching together. Hips are even with the floor. Nice and steady, start to reach your right toes back behind you. Land your toes and then your heel parallel with the back edge of your mat. Arms are reaching down and away from you. And then gently release your hands, let your arms float out to a T. Warrior two. Same thing even in this wide shape, pressing out through your feet as you draw your legs together, still finding your center. If you notice that you're really reaching forward, see if you can find a middle place. Get a little more friendly with your back space. Next exhale, bend your forearm, place your forearm onto your front leg. Take your right arm and extend it all the way up alongside your ears, side ankle. One more breath here. Turn your gaze to the floor, start to reach your hand down to the inside edge of your foot, lift onto the ball of your right foot. Take your hand onto your thigh and then take a moment to turn your chest to the side. You can either stay here or walk your right hand a little forward of your toes, turn all 10 toes to the left, coming onto the outside edge of your back foot, and then maybe your arm sweeps all the way up towards the ceiling. You might stay here, you might start to drape your hip towards the floor, reach your arm long towards the back of the mat. 2 more times, pushing up, reaching out, and then draping your hip towards the floor, reaching back. 1 more time. And then come all the way up, reach your hands forward, draw yourself forward with your left leg, right leg lifts up, draw your knee in towards your nose, squeeze, and then step your feet together at the top of your mat. Inhale to halfway lift, reach the crown of your head forward. Exhale to fold in. Inhale to halfway lift, crown of your head reaches forward. Toe heel your feet out wide, and then start to sit your hips all the way down towards your mat. Maybe you take a moment in Malasana, arms reach forward. And then reach your arms even further forward towards the top of the mat to counterbalance as you sit your hips all the way down onto the ground. Bring your arms back behind you. Fingertips can point any direction. I'm going to scooch my blocks out of the way. Maybe take a moment to sway your knees from side to side. We have made it to the floor. Practice is almost over for today. Okay. Back up through center. Extend your legs out long. I'm going to point myself towards the camera. Cross your right foot over your left knee. Either stay with this left leg extended or kick your heel in towards your hip. Left hand can come behind you. Right arm reaches up alongside your ear. Take a little stretch. And then you might wrap your arm around your leg, or you might cross your elbow outside of your knee and start to turn your chest all the way to the side. Maybe your gaze turns back as well. And next, exhale, come all the way forward. Okay, we're going to take a hip opener. I'm going to take a cow face pose. So I'm going to walk my feet further away from each other so that my knees land one on top of the other. But you're also welcome to walk your feet closer towards each other and take more of a square pose or more of a Sukhasana, crisscross applesauce pose. You can pick your favorite. Inhale to find a little length through the crown of your head, and exhale to fold yourself in. Feeling as your body starts to soften against the floor. And when we're finding the middle, as I mentioned in the meditation, a couple of different steps that we're moving through is finding a place that feels stable and settled for your body. And then from there, working on softening the grip, which can mean softening just about anything. Maybe it's physical, maybe it's mental, maybe it's emotional. And then from this place where you've found stability and you've found some softening, then you invite your breath in. Slowly start to walk your way back up. Lean back to uncross your legs. Take a moment to extend your legs out long. Maybe pad your knees on the ground and then draw your left knee in. Step it outside of your right leg. Either stay with your right leg extended or kick your heel in towards your hip. Left hand can come behind you. Right arm can reach up to the sky, and then wrap your arm around your leg or cross your elbow outside of your knee and turn. So we can be thinking about this as we're settling more into shapes for a longer period of time, or even moving a little bit more quickly. Come back through center. Wiggle into your favorite hip opener. Maybe you take cow face, maybe you take square pose or Sukhasana. Inhale to lift the crown of your head. Exhale to fold your way forward. In yoga, we're often trying to find this middle, this place between effort and ease, this balanced area that kind of isn't anywhere in particular and is also like all of the gray area. So it's nowhere set, really. It's very contextual, it's very moment to moment, it's very personal. So you find your own sense of stability right now, whatever that looks like right now. How can I be aware and attentive, but also settled? Can I be present? And can you notice if there's extra unnecessary holding or tension? Can you soften? And can you invite your breath in? Slowly start to come back up. Uncross your legs. And we'll take a little moment in some restorative bridge as we close practice. I'm actually going to take both of my blocks just in case. Okay, extend your legs out long. Reach your arms forward, and then we're going to C-curl down to the floor. Go nice and slow, slower than you want to, slow enough to feel. And softly let your body rest for a moment. And then you can either stay here if you're just ready to be still. Or if you want a little bit more, you might Take a block, bend your knees, place your feet onto the floor, and then push into your feet to lift your hips up and slide the block underneath you. Settle your hips down onto the block. Maybe you keep your knees bent, or maybe you take a moment where you extend your legs out long. If your legs are extended, you're always, always, always welcome to stay just as you are, or you can bend your knees, place your feet onto the floor, and then start to extend your legs all the way up to the ceiling. And hopefully you get a little bit of a tilt in your pelvis so that your legs feel somewhat weightless, and you can just kind of rest here. Same as when we took the restorative downward facing dog. We're not looking for something that is super sensational when we take restorative forms. Okay, you might stay here, you might draw your knees in towards your chest, and as you draw your knees in towards your chest, I'm finding a little sliding. Maybe you find a little sliding and you readjust. Okay, maybe you draw your knees in towards your chest. I'm going to use my arms to even support. So I've got a slippery little mat, and you might rock your knees a little bit side to side like we did with the eyebrows earlier. Way back at the start of practice. Maybe you find a little massage on the low back. Okay, and then one foot comes down to the floor at a time. Bend your knees, lift your hips up. Remove the block and then roll yourself all the way down. If there are any final shapes that you want to take before you come towards stillness, feel free to take them now. In any way that you want to take rest. If you want to be on your back, if you want to be on a side or your belly, if you want to be seated, if you want to come to a standing form, you're welcome to do any of those things. If you still want to be finding a bit of movement instead of taking stillness, that's also welcome. Feel the movement of your breath coming in and out of your body. Feel the density of your bones resting heavy on the floor. Find a place where you feel stability and like you can settle the weight of your body onto the ground. And soften the grip. And take rest. Okay, maybe you choose to stay if you have more time to right now. Maybe you find a little bit of movement
start to reawaken. Make your way into a comfortable seat if you're not there already. And take any position with your hands as you come into your seat. Take a moment to bow your chin towards your chest and maybe connect with a sense of gratitude. I am grateful for the ability to practice on this land. I'm on Klinget Ani, the ancestral land of the Akwan and Takuquan, neighboring the Haida and Tsimshian peoples. This beautiful place, also known as Juneau, Alaska. And then you might take your hands together and rub your hands to generate a bit of heat. Pick a spot where you'd like to feel some warmth, and when you're ready and your palms are nice and warm, place them over your chosen spot. And then breathe into your hands. And then if your eyes are closed, blink your eyes open. Thank you so much for practicing today. To see you again soon.